Chelmsford School Committee to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. Public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with the Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of the meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made a part of the record of the meeting during the second public input session. I don't think we have any members of the press present tonight, so welcome to tonight's school committee meeting. Our first order of business is to approve our meeting minutes from, all the way back up here. Thank you very much, by the way, Sharon. Please.
That's what I.
November 14th and November 21st, so I'll take them
Two
separately.
different motions, yep. Okay, make a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on November 14th.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
I abstain, I wasn't here that day.
Okay, yes, you got that?
Yep.
4 in favor, 1 abstention, okay. And for the 21st?
I make a
please?
motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on November 21st.
You second.
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
So 4-0 in favor, 1 abstention. All right, so moving on to our Chelmsford High School representatives.
Hi everyone. So the Interact Club and the class of 2024 reps are working together to help support one of our own. Wolfie Bach, 7-year-old son of one of our science teachers, Miss Bach, has been recently diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. The students have decided to have a fundraiser to help the family through this difficult time. Vertical Raise has agreed to work with us to raise funds and has waived their fees. 97% of all donations will go to the family. 3% is a mandatory credit card fee. If you're interested and able to donate, you can donate through the online platform Vertical Raise when you look up Join Wolfie's Pack fundraiser. And some great news on our art students. CHS senior Lonnie Petrova has been accepted into UMass's 3rd Regional Juried High School Exhibition, and a Zentangle contour drawing created by Chelmsford High sophomore Urja Sharmar currently graces the cover of the Massachusetts Music Educators Journal, so congrats to them. And winter sports have all started, so good luck to our winter sport athletes and wishing them a great, successful season, and this Thursday is a half day.
The Ecology Club composting effort during lunches is going on in full swing, and so far every month the food waste collected has produced 2.25 tons of compost. Last month, Eco Club students participated in 2 townwide activities, the Hazardous Waste Day and the Zero Waste Day. The students helped sort through paints brought in by Chelmsford residents, collecting the oil-based ones for proper disposal. For the Zero Waste Day, students did a multitude of tasks, such as sorting through clothes and books to help the town recycling committee. Tomorrow, Eco Club will be conducting a school-wide cleanup around the high school in partnership with NHS students, and there are close to 40 students signed up for this after-school event. The membership of the Eco Club has risen to almost double the size due to co-presidents Anisha and Hasya, leading the way to more meaningful activities can continue throughout the school year.
Thank you. So since your school principal is here tonight, I just want to mention, Principal Murray, that both of these young ladies do an outstanding job every week that they're here, and it's been a pleasure to be able to work with them.
They're great.
Right.
Thank you.
And then I was wondering if you could please forward to the school committee members the information on the fundraiser that you mentioned. Great, thank you. All right, good news?
Yep, so hot off the presses, so bear with me as I start to summarize some of this information. So we've had a second visit from the Bionic Project, and if you recall or had a chance to watch read in the newsletter, this is a group that's together, they're amputee soccer players that come to the schools. They talk about what it looks like to be a student or a person with disabilities, also what it's like to be inclusive and to be an ally and the different accessibility. So they had a second visit going to McCarthy Middle School. They were already at Parker Middle School, and they worked with our PE classes, and the kids really learned a lot and understood kind of the concepts that went with it and some of the challenges that some people may have as they go through life. So that was great to have them back. Very positive. If you haven't had a chance to see them, they're extremely positive individuals and are just fantastic with the kids. Our science department has been working with Snapshot USA. It's a project where that's our trail cams. So we've been taking all of those pictures. Sometimes you used to see it in the newsletter that there'd be like a trail cam update of the week. And the Science National Honor Society students are identifying the animals that are in those trail cameras captured around all the Chelmsford schools. So very interesting stuff, a lot of footage to look at. Also, the trout eggs are being delivered next week, and those are going to stock a local river. So that's something else that the science department will be working on. And as a reminder, at our last meeting, we did change the professional development day to now be Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. And with that change, the wellness fair at CHS is now going to be Wednesday, March 6th. So just if you have that in your calendar, be sure to make those changes. And that's it. Oh, the only thing I want to mention is the student that has they're part of the cover of the Massachusetts Music Association. Their teacher was Tim Richards at the high school.
Nice. Thank you.
No, I don't have any good news.
Nothing?
Nothing.
All right,
And we had no public comments either.
thank you.
Jump into new business?
Yes, please.
All right. First up tonight, we're going to invite Principal Murray, and I know he has some staff from the high school here to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening at Chelmsford High School. Last month, we heard from our two middle schools with the new realignment. Principal Parks and Blag were here, and Principal Murray's here with some staff from the high school. So when you do come up, the only thing, just make sure you speak right into the mic. Share it along the table's fine. You can bring other chairs up to the table, that's fine. But if you're too far away, particularly where you're that far, it just reverbs, and it's difficult to hear. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Happy holidays, everyone. I'm excited to be here. We have three big programs I want to talk about. The first one we're going to talk about is NEASC. It's the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. That's the organization that we go through our accreditation with, and that program really pushes us forward and keeps us the high-performing school that we are. And I can't thank enough Dr. Linda Tanini, who's here, and Matt Bartos. We'll hear from them in a second. They've done an amazing job. It's a lot of hard work, organizing and communicating with all different our partners within our building. And I can't say enough. They're wonderful. You'll get to hear them in a second. The next one is Alex Cunningham and her career and college readiness program. This is a program that has really taken off and exploded, and it's providing so many opportunities for our kids beyond school, financial opportunities, and it's also with her partnerships, and she knows so many people in the area. She's bringing people from Mass Higher, which we'll see up here, giving opportunities for our current kids for employment and internships. And so she's really, it's one of our crown jewels. And last but definitely not least is Dan Hart, our athletic director for athletics. He is, it's been a pleasure. We've been working for 6 years in these roles together, and he's really transformed our athletic program. He's really making our students leaders, and he's also staying on the cutting edge in terms of where our program should be going and how we should be teaching our kids. It's not just the wins and losses, but it's the skills and the lifelong lessons they're going to learn along the way, and Dan's built a nice program with that. So with that being said, I'd like to bring up our first part will be NEASC, and that'll be Dr. Tanini and Mr. Bartos.
Hello, welcome. Hello. So just want to talk a little bit first of what we've been doing up until this point, where we are, because this is a pretty long process overall. In 2021, we started the process, basically getting ready, planning, collecting information and data from the faculty and from our stakeholders, including also the community, like the parents, students, faculty, ask a survey to help them get a feel of what they feel about the school, et cetera, and processing a lot of that data, and also student work, et cetera, to present a report for our collaborative visit that occurred in April of 2022. With the collaborative visit, a committee from the NEAS came in, they looked at our self-reflection report as we discussed everything and kind of brought it together, and kind of looked at some priority areas, what we aligned with and what we didn't align with NEAS. From that report, we looked and got a school growth improvement plan from that collaborative conference, and we've been working on that school growth improvement plan over the last year and a half to help create and write our school summary report for the decennial visit, which is to occur in March of 2024. So we're getting ready for that decennial visit coming up in a few months. One of the things we saw in the ongoing work that we're working on that we got from that collaborative visit was that there were two fundamental areas that we did not meet the standards. The first one was we did not have a comprehensive document that describes the vision of the graduate. So in Chelmsford, we definitely have our PRIDE acronym, but not really a good description of what everyone thinks the vision of a graduate from Chelmsford High School should look like. And so in preparation to get that for our decennial visit, what we did as a group of some faculty members, we attended some conferences to understand what this vision should entail. So we did 2 conferences, kind of Zoom conferences to work on that. And using that information, we again asked the community, what does Chelmsford's vision of the graduate look like? So that entailed things like asking students, actually we started with a small focus group, asked them, what does pride mean? What are the words that come from that? Using that, we created a survey where we sent it out to teachers, students, parents, members of the town itself, alumni. We actually reached out also to local colleges with the help actually from our career and college readiness also, and also some of the partnerships that we have to say, what do you want for a vision of someone who's graduating from Chelmsford High School? So we've been working on that and helped to put together a little bit of vision and coming a little further with that. And the other thing we don't have that we didn't meet was a written curriculum that was consistent format for all classes. There were pieces here and there with different departments and such, but not one consistent format throughout that. And I think that is something that we're continually working on in our school to get ready for the decennial visit. Sorry. So again, one of the priority areas that we've been working on is, again, that vision of the graduate. So again, taking the ideas of pride, which is perseverance, asking around, and actually with a lot of help too from some of parsing through the data, we come up with that the perseverance should be something shown as never giving up, overcoming obstacles, and challenging oneself. Respect is listening to all perspectives, being considerate, and being open-minded. Integrity, honesty, doing the right thing, and having strong morals. Dedication, commitment, full effort, and hardworking. And empathy, understanding different viewpoints, having awareness of other people's feelings, recognizing impact of self on others.
Okay, and our second priority area was to work with improving school community support for the physical, emotional, and intellectual well-being of students. We know that this is so very important, and we wanted to make sure that we continued with anti-bias and anti-discrimination curriculum. We found it to be very effective, and so we know that that's something that we need to continue with. We also have our new Panorama system, which has been collecting a tremendous amount of data on student life and student well-being. We're getting that snapshot of mental and emotional well-being. We're also able to use that to bring together different areas of not only curriculum, but also school support and various interventions. We also have our SEL block, which takes place on Wednesdays, and that has been an integral part of helping to continue to create ongoing discussions with our Plus Block students in an advisory capacity. We have a lot of opportunities to engage with our students with various topics. The third priority area is to ensure school and building facilities that support the delivery of high-quality curriculum programs and services. We've been very grateful for a range of information that we've gathered from maintenance, custodians, and athletics. They've given us so many great pieces of evidence of all of the ongoing things that happen. And so we've been able to use that as a way to provide some updates to our report. We had in certain areas of our report where we might have been at a certain level of accomplishment, we've now been able to say that we're even further along in that process. So that's been really good to hear about. And last is the priority area where we wanted to try to have a written curriculum that is in a consistent format and includes all units of study. So like Linda said, we had some pieces of this before, but we've spent a lot of time going back and saying we need everything to look in a consistent format. And so that's, so that, Mr. Junk, you public can go onto our website and say, what does a curriculum look like? And can I make sense of it? It's so very important to have that, that transformative information out there. We've also had a curriculum template, and that curriculum template is actually something that we're trying to get everybody in our building to say, is what we do also aligning with that vision of the graduate? If we're going to spend all this time talking about the vision of the graduate, can we go back and say, all right, is what I'm doing in my English class also something that connects with those skills? Can I make that justification? And so that's been a very, good and useful thing for all of us. So those are our priority areas. Coming up, we have our decennial visit, which is going to be March 11th through the 13th. We're going to have a chairperson and several visiting people from around New England. They're going to come. They're going to be able to meet with all of our faculty. They're going to be able to meet with students as well. Technically, they're able to come and witness every single aspect of the school day's operation. They want to be able to see our classes, meet with students. They want to be able to hear about what student work is like. They want to be able to engage with those different groups. That is going to culminate with a meeting on Wednesday the 13th, where the chair is going to share all of their findings with us as a faculty. Beyond that, then there's a written report which will get sent to the superintendent, school board, faculty in the town hall. It's a publishable document. It's something that will be able to celebrate the success that we've been able to accomplish to this date.
So before we move on to the next area, does anybody have any questions? I just had two. The first one is, I know we're calling it Vision of a Graduate. A lot of districts across the state have adopted something called Portrait of a Graduate. Is this our version of Portrait of a Graduate? And is this something we want to have be like homegrown as opposed to, okay.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering about that. I like that.
Yeah, vision and portrait are interchangeable.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think there's a specific Portrait of a Graduate plan. I just wanted to make sure that people understood that we were doing something more internally as opposed to working with outside people like the Bar Foundation or something like that, which I think is a terrific idea. And it's really nice because we have a lot of these pieces in place already, and it's nice to really kind of capitalize on the fact that we've done all of this work and embed it more in the curriculum. So, and then the second thing I wanted to ask about was, I'm sorry, I just have to jump back here. On priority area number 2, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the continued work on anti-bias and anti-discrimination curriculum and what that means, because in the media, it can mean a lot of different things. So, for example, some of the feedback that we've gotten from the community might be around CRT, which we obviously don't do. But what does it mean for Chelmsford when we're doing these things?
So we've been following all the work from the ideas group, the training, and a lot of it has been going about microaggressions and implicit and explicit, direct and indirect what we call microaggressions. So we've been putting that, we did last year, we did a training, we put it into our SEL block, which is our plus block, on Wednesdays, and our Character Strong, which is our advisory curriculum, goes at both of those. We can always do more, but we've had a good start. And the training, we had the ideas group, our whole staff went through it as well.
So helping students to understand, the things that they say and do and how they can be interpreted by people of different backgrounds, ethnicities, cultures,
Exactly.
religions, whatever. Is that fair to say?
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Bartos and Dr. Zanini. I'd like to bring up Alex Cunningham, our Director of the Career and College Readiness Center.
Thank you, Principal Murray. Hi, everyone. Bear with me. I have a cold, so I don't sound the best right now. So I'm just going to talk about a few updates that have happened over the past year or few years in the Career and College Readiness Center. So the first one is our Innovation Pathways updates. So for those of you who don't remember, Innovation Pathways allows students to gain coursework and experience in specific high-demand industries. Chelmsford currently has 4 designations. We have Business and Finance, Information Technology, Advanced Engineering and Manufacturing, and Life Sciences. Both Business and Finance and Information Technology are in their 3rd year at Chelmsford, and Engineering, Manufacturing, and Life Science are both in their 2nd year. This chart right here shows the growth, and it's pretty awesome because if you look at column 3 and 4, the 23-24 applications versus the total students in the pathway, Business and Finance had 27 students apply this year for a total of 47 students in the pathway. Information Technology had 16 applicants for a total of 41. Engineering and Manufacturing had 5 applicants this year for a total of 7, and then Life Science had 22 for a total of 30. So that just goes to show the growing rate of the program because 3 out of 4 of the pathways, more than half of the total students applied just this past year and were accepted. The totals are at the bottom. So total in Innovation Pathways programming altogether, we have 125 students and 70 total that were accepted just this year. This is also the first year for students in the program to engage in an internship or capstone project with an industry partner. So we're preparing for that, and that will happen at the end of the year for them. Continuing with Innovation Pathways, this is our industry partner update. So we have industry partners that work with us overall in the Innovation Pathways programming. Our current partners who we currently have MOUs signed with are Teledyne FLIR, Access Communications, Chelmsford Water Department, Workers Credit Union, Novalex, and Newippic. And on December 13th, I have a meeting with Analog Devices right on Route 129, and hopefully they will sign to be a new partner with us for our IT pathway. So what do they do in our program? Monthly, they join us for a career advisory board where we talk about curriculum, networking opportunities, guest speakers, career panels, field trips, and internships, just so students can, immerse themselves into the corporate world. Next, the next update is early college access programming. So myself, Steph Quinn, and Erin McNeil have worked to organize all of the different college opportunities that Chelmsford provides under one umbrella to make it, make more sense to families and students. So we are going with a 3-tiered approach. The first one being our IDS 101 and IDS 106. Those are the free online 1-credit college courses that students can do on Ingenuity. It is open to all freshmen and sophomores, and it's an in-kind donation from Middlesex Community College, so they can get a transcript their freshman year without paying any money. Secondly, our dual enrollment course program is growing, and then third, new this year, is an associate degree pathway, and I will talk more about 2 and 3 in the next few slides. So dual enrollment updates. We went from school year 21-22 all the way up until next year, what the dual enrollment updates would look like. So school year 21-22, we had 25 courses for dual enrollment credit across 78 sections. We had a total of 492 total registrations, which equated to 1,483 total DE credits by Chelmsford students. The next year, 22-23, we had 26 courses across 77 sections for a total of 543 registrations and 1,473 total credits. This current year, we just finished with fall registrations. we currently have 28 courses across 85 sections. With spring not even counted yet, we have 358 total registrations and 1,116 total dual enrollment credits. For next year, school year 24-25, we're hoping to have 41 dual enrollment courses. We just proposed 13 new ones and 4 of them are already pending. So registrations and DE credits are TBD for now. Let's see. So just to look at cost savings for dual enrollment, this is pretty awesome for CHS students. Chelmsford High students can take a dual enrollment course at Chelmsford for $126 per credit. All courses are either 3 or 4 credits, so a 3-credit course would equal $378, and a 4-credit course would equal $504. If a student were to take that same course at Middlesex Community College, not for dual enrollment, the cost per credit would be $252, making a 3-credit course $756 and a 4-credit course $1,008. Seeing as a lot of our students go to UMass Amherst, we also looked at these numbers. The cost per credit for UMass Amherst is $1,074.25, making a 3-credit course cost a student $2,456.75, and a 4-credit course would cost $3,148. So since 2021, students have saved against Middlesex $200,700 and against UMass Amherst $2.5 million from 21 to now. Significant cost savings. I will jump back to our associate degree path. So that number 3, that is a clickable link to the packet that I did hand out. So this just describes our associate degree program that is currently in the works and is brand new. We've been working closely with Middlesex Community College to put together a pathway that allows students a prescribed sequence of courses, and they can begin in either grade 9 or 10. So we're currently only 3 courses shy of allowing students to complete an associate degree right here on Chelmsford High School's campus. But those 3 courses are in the 13 that are pending, and we're hoping to get those within the next year or 2. Let's see. If a student were to go through with the associate's degree, a whole associate degree would cost them $7,560 to around $7,938 based on 60 to 63 credits total. In this packet, this is a packet that we try to make easy to follow, but it shows the prescribed pathway from freshman year all the way up until senior year. Blue squares highlighting the Chelmsford credit and red squares highlighting the associate degree credits. There is one purple in there because right now a student needs to take AP Psychology in order to finish, but we're working on hopefully making it so it can become a dual enrollment course in the future. And lastly, Mass Hire Partnership. This is a partnership that is fairly new to Chelmsford High School, and we are partnering with a youth business specialist from the Mass Hire Greater Lowell Workforce Board. Her name is Nita Green, and she is super helpful in helping students prepare themselves for any post-secondary opportunity or anything they're interested in doing. She is a great connection. So she has been coming in. She's only been working for Mass Hire for about a month, and she's already met with 20-plus Chelmsford High School students one-on-one, helping them with part-time jobs and internship search. So we're going to use her for our CHS internship as a support to connect students with internship opportunities. She is also in the works on a scholarship search shop, an internship search shop, partnering with me. So we will connect students to different scholarships and different internships. We're also working on an Innovation Pathway Awareness Month. So if you, I don't know if I can click on that, but that is a flyer. And it is in January. There will be 2 guest speakers per pathway coming to talk to the students for networking opportunities for them. And then lastly, come March, we're looking at a job fair to hopefully bring employers to the high school to connect them with employees and Chelmsford High students who are looking for work. And that is all I have. Is there any questions? I know there was a lot of info.
I noticed the cost to the student, which is a great, by the way, incredible savings, so
Yep.
I love that. The question I had was, do you have students that maybe can't afford those fees? And do you have like you have a process for that? Like, okay. I would hate for money to be the only object between.
Right. We're in the works of hopefully trying to get together a scholarship for this purpose. Again, like super beginning work, so if anyone has experience with that, I will surely take some information down.
This is truly super exciting. I mean, suddenly you sound like a college and not a high school. It's getting to that point, I think, in terms of how quickly students, they need this. It's required in order for there to be some meaning to a high school experience. These days, it has to get to this level, or that meaning is not going to be there for them and keeps them involved in the schools, in this high school. A couple of questions for you in terms of career pathways. Are there any, other than this associate degree in liberal arts and sciences, which appears to be a pathway, are there any other ones that we are thinking of, for example, in some area of the humanities?
Yes, I know Katie Sims is working on an educating pathway, and Steph Quinn is working on a criminal justice pathway.
Yay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
humanities.
pretty exciting.
Because this is incredible. But it's 125 students total right now participating in the program, right? In the Pathways programs?
That's our Innovation Pathways program, yes, which is super confusing, but different from the associate degree in the college pathways that we offer.
Okay, so, and that's picking up now. We're starting that now.
Yes, yep.
So to get more students to come in initially at the freshman level, now that we have this, Parker is 5'6" and McCarthy is 7'8", I'm sure you're thinking already how to get to those 8th graders and those 7th graders and start talking about it more, possibly even with current students, which is, I'm going to let you address that. Is that something that's true?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I mean, last year and the year before, since I started with the program, I went to both Parker and McCarthy and spoke to every 8th grader in a classroom setting. This year is just going to be easier for me, and I'll only have to go to one school, but I will still speak to each 8th grader as well as bring up the information at 8th grade parent night.
So this is all terrific. In terms of the dual enrollment versus the APs that we offer, what's going on with those two channels to get credits at college? Because I know while my girls were going through, it was basically APs. Dual enrollment only came in for the last 1 or 2 years that they were there. But now it's different. Okay, now you have other choices. So are you finding that AP's courses still remain as relevant as they were for our student body? Because the measurement that we get from the state is based on advanced courses. And I'm trying to see what trend we're going towards here and what we should be pushing for in terms of measuring our success level at the high school.
Can I just jump in for a second just to clarify? So you're talking about our accountability from the state?
Yeah.
The state considers AP and dual enrollments
Okay.
as part of that measurement.
Which is really
Yeah,
important.
that would be important because you'd see a large discrepancy.
So both need to be counted. And
Consider advanced
are you seeing that people are adding to, in other words, let's say we had 100 students who did AP before the dual enrollment came in. Do we now have still that 100 students plus dual enrollment? Or what's happening in terms of, is it attracting a different group of students?
What's the question?
So, is it adding, are people choosing more to go one path versus another? AP versus dual enrollment? Or are they choosing still the same number to choose to do AP courses and an additional number are choosing to do dual enrollment? Do we know those statistics?
Don't know those, but I do know that when we set out a few years ago, when Dr. Lang and Dr. Hirsch were saying how we want to bring this to our schools, the idea of the dual enrollment is that we wanted to make this opportunity accessible to all levels. And because right now, the college credit and the benefit of that was only for AP students. And we have all these other students, honors and CP, who didn't have that opportunity. So it's been built out through Stephanie, John, Morris, and Alex to provide this opportunity for our CP kids and our honors kids. And because even at the AP, you need to get a certain, there's a 3 or higher to get that credit. And not all schools are taking the AP credit. More were taking the DE, more and more are taking DE as opposed to the AP. So we don't have those statistics yet, but I do see that we have many more kids now involved in this process through the DE program.
I think it's really going to be important too, not only to bring it to the 7th and 8th graders, but also to their parents, so that they realize that these choices are there. And those kinds of comments are coming through at PTO meetings that I attend at the middle school level, that, you know, they have students, both at the, some parents at the high school and the middle school, and they can talk about this, and the other parents are going, oh, I had no idea. So a lot of times a freshman may not know what to do, but the parent may want to guide them on what to do because of that 2 million whatever cost savings. Okay, so all of that, to me, this is immense. This is great. Thank you so much for doing it. And just before we were meeting, Darna and I were talking here about creating a little program called Early Graduate Mentors. So that, you know, recent graduate mentors that you can reach out to link up current students with, which might be another thing. So this is definitely an incredible program that you're running there. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
I do have a question about it. What about the students who kind of, and families who don't have their heads wrapped around it to get started right away in 9th grade? Maybe it doesn't hit until halfway through sophomore year that I wish I could do that. Is there a way to still get into this, to finish an associate's by the time you graduate?
Yes, so preferably 9th or 10th grade would make it easier because it is such a prescribed schedule. However, though, our dual enrollment courses are offered for students to take however they want. So it would be case by case, but we could work with each student to say, you know, you've taken this as dual enrollment and you've taken this as dual enrollment. We can, you know, push that into the associate degree pathway and maybe even, you know, rework the prescribed pathway to make it work for them.
It's possible, like you don't get it right away.
Yes, absolutely.
And trying to get kids in right away, what we've been doing is, on January 17th this year will be our 8th grade parent night. And so this will be one of the hallmarks of what we'll be talking about, our focus. And then additionally, our counselors go down and talk to the 8th grade counselors to make sure that when they talk to the kids, and there's been a great collaboration there with that. And there was one thing I was gonna say, but those, right now is so important. Now there's with one school where we already have that great communication with the guidance counselors. Our guidance counselors come in a couple extra days in the summer because the scheduling of DE is pretty involved and it's getting those kids encouraged to go into that. And so our counselors meet with the freshmen individually. And because you can get in sophomore year, but you can also get in the second semester freshman if you missed the first semester.
To me, you said one thing during your presentation that was extremely important, which was that this was created to add more opportunities. So I often think some students think, I can only do an AP course because, you know, I'm at this high level or whatever, but no, you can take a dual enrollment if you have a 3.0 and not a 4.0. So you need to make sure that I'm sure you are working on this, making sure they understand this, that they can get into that, and they should.
Right, Dennis?
Yeah, just back to the dual enrollment, you're proposing adding 13 new dual enrollment. Is it in a particular area? Is it spread out? Do you have the staff that will be able to teach it? Because I know there's gotta be some training that goes along with that.
Absolutely. I do have the courses right here. We have, the pending ones are actually in science, so we have all of those are actually already taught. It's just a matter of getting the teacher certified in dual enrollment. So we have 5 science, a math, 4 social science, 2 family consumer science, and an English coming, and we do already have the staff. Yeah.
And one other question, but on top of everything else, I know you have a senior internship program as well. I know probably last year was the first time it really got off the ground fully. How did that go? What's the feedback you're getting from the students, the staff, and the employers?
Yeah, that's a good question. Students love it. I haven't heard anything negative. Yeah, that's another thing too, is the first year, my first year was its first year. And that was 30 students. I think we had 38 students. Last year we had 90. So we are preparing for this year to maybe double again.
I
It
c-
goes
It
hand
is,
in hand
yeah.
with the mass hire.
Yeah.
You have come in, it really, it's all connected, and it's a great opportunity for our kids.
I had an intern. I had a senior intern.
Oh, right.
This past year. It was wonderful. And I think she would agree. I'm not going to say who it is and so on, but she can speak for herself. But I think it was really interesting because she was able to explore different thoughts that she had about her strengths and so on, and make a decision whether or not it was really something that she wanted to go into, what I do, whether it was or wasn't. And in the end, she chose something else, to pursue something else, but with some insurance and security in what she was doing. And that was really wonderful to see. So it works well.
Yeah, it's a
And the
great
impact of the
opportunity.
academic program, I mean, I know that it's basically the last 6 weeks of school.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to work that out fine.
Yeah, it actually went smoothly. We had, it went really smoothly. We had a really good guide from Westford. We followed them along. They've been doing it for about 30 years. So we followed along with them, and they had some great guidance with that. And Josh Blagg, Principal Blagg, was phenomenal. He really, that was his baby bringing over, and he really did a really, really nice job with that.
So I wanted to ask our student reps if they've had any dual enrollment class, if you've taken any dual enrollment classes.
I haven't taken any, and like this year too, if I'm taking APs, like lots of times it's like there's dual enrollment history this year for like, and then I took A-Push instead, but they're both like really good opportunities. I don't think one's better than the other really, so there shouldn't be an argument on that, but it's just different for everyone else. And obviously like advanced placement history is much harder, and if you don't think that class is like the right match for you, it would be better for students to take the dual enrollment one.
How about you?
Yeah, I haven't taken any courses either, but I know people that have, and they really enjoy it.
Great. Thank you. One of the things I want to touch upon, what you just said about the student internship program, and having followed Westford's model and piggybacking on something that Dennis said about, the number of staff that are involved. I'm not sure how this would work, but I'm wondering if somewhere down the road, there's going to be some consideration to, that not all schools will offer, the same pathways, but there may be certain districts that would offer these pathways. We thought about any type of collaboration down the road with other districts, who may offer different pathways that students may be interested in. Do you see that going in that direction? Only because it seems like it's becoming very, very popular.
I have not at this point. I really haven't, we've been focused on what we've been building here, but that's actually something worth considering I didn't think of.
Yeah, I was just wondering, only because there's,
Sounds great.
no, I mean, I mean, because if you have, for example, a certain pathway and, why have 20 districts doing it in this area? Maybe it would be, I don't know. I was just throwing that out there, but.
For the Innovation Pathways program, there is I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but it's a monthly, quarterly meeting where all schools who do have Innovation Pathways get together and, this is how we run our internship, or this is how the sequence of courses that they take in this pathway, how are you doing it? Or we're struggling on this end, what are you doing? Type of thing. So that's very helpful. I join those all the time. In terms of dual enrollment, not necessarily. I just met with admissions from Middlesex a couple of weeks ago, and she said we have by far the largest dual enrollment program that they work with.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's awesome. And then the only other question I had, and again, piggybacking on something that Maria said, a lot of kids think that they have an idea about what they want to do, but it changes. So is our programming flexible enough that students don't feel, stuck in one direction and that their time in these dual enrollment classes becomes a waste, or they're not pressured because of the cost saving, which is enormous, right? But, I would certainly encourage my children to do it. But, do kids get nervous? Like, I don't want to commit to this because I don't really know what I want to do. Or are we flexible enough that it can really translate into anything that they may do going forward?
We are flexible. I will say Middlesex is also flexible too, in the sense that they give us a nice grace period for students to, who register to then change their mind, or, different things like that. Or if they, all of a sudden something happens and they can no longer pay for it, they do give us 5 slots of what they call CDEP funding to help for that. If that's all taken, the student can just drop it without a withdrawal in their transcript. So I think we Chelmsford High School, but also Middlesex is very flexible in supporting the students in those decisions.
Okay, great, thank you.
And just two quick ones on that as well. I mean, the high school has really been doing a nice job of adding courses each year in all the different disciplines. And the kids can still, students can still do that. So they might just take a couple of exploratory courses here or there, and they're still accruing credits. You know, they just don't tie into a particular program. But what we've been trying to do is now the course offerings have expanded, actually kind of create a whole avenue for them to be able to, from start to finish, kind of have a very prescribed route. The general humanities kind of associate's degree was just the easiest for the first one for us to be able to do, just based on the courses we've already had approved, we're kind of putting together for them for a whole degree, so that you really could start day one and get an associate's degree by the end. But you might actually have other students, like currently, who are just coming out over the last couple of years, that maybe have taken, 3 or 5 or 10 courses that, they didn't hit the whole associate's degree. But those courses can then be transferred into various programs when they get to college.
That was
So
the
this is
beauty
just the more, just the more one kind of formalized route that we're going. And then we'll obviously look at other associate's degrees as our course content gets built out. Sorry, Alex.
No, I interrupted you. But yeah, that these all, because it's liberal arts and sciences, it does transfer as gen eds mostly. So then when a student gets to college, they can pick their path there as well.
Terrific, thank you.
And I just want one other quick clarification for me, if you don't mind. So I know we have 125 kids right now enrolled over in the pathways in general, and 70 new this year. Is it 70 new freshmen, or are those 70 all grades?
Freshmen, sophomores,
Freshmen, sophomores?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
of course.
Thank you, Alex.
Are there any other
course,
questions?
thank
Thank you, Alex. And also, I meant to, thank you very much. This is really just a tremendous program. You've done so much hard work on this. I can't believe how much this has grown in just a short amount of time.
Can't take all the credit.
And, go ahead. So, and I am sure that this is in large part due to your hard work. And then I also wanted to say thank you to Dr. Tanini and Mr. Bartos for the NEASC work. Unless you've lived through it, it's impossible to understand how much work it is. It is so much work. And so thank you for all of your hard work on that. I know that it is a big time commitment outside of school as well, because you just simply can't get it done all during the school day.
Question, Donna, do you have that picture of what a graduate is supposed to look like yet, the profile? Is it already available?
So it's, it's up there on the slide in very, very basic font.
Okay.
Our next goal, and NEASC really encourages schools to give it a visual. And so they actually said, take it to your art department. And so one of the things that we considered was, bringing it to our art classes and saying, you go for it, design it, lion paw, whatever, and make it look great. Some schools will even have a contest, to see what it'll turn into. So we're actively pursuing that, because I certainly don't have any artistic talent. My students can tell you. So we're gonna have them, do it up good.
That's
So
wonderful.
the goal is to hopefully get it in time for the decennial. So
Well, thank you for this. And also, Mr. Bartos, thank you for everything else that you do at the high school. I know that you're very involved in many things up there. I don't know how you fit this part into your schedule, too. So thank you.
And now bring Mr. Dan Hart, our athletic director, up.
Good evening, everybody. So there we go. So I just wanted to give kind of a general overview of our athletic department. Our athletic department is one of the largest public high school athletic programs in the state. We offer JV, freshman, and varsity levels at a lot of our sports. So we have 64 teams at Chelmsford High School. We are one of, I believe it's 21 rugby teams in the state of Massachusetts, and that was because we had kids that wanted it. They put together a program, a whole way to get it, and we were able to add it. I'm a big proponent of, we want to find things for our kids to do. I went to the schools, I grew up here. After the building, when the bell rings at 2 o'clock, the place comes alive. Not just athletics, but we want our kids involved in everything. Clubs, drama, TV, art, all those things. We want to find a home for everybody. And I think that's, athletics is a major part of that as well. Like I said before, we have 32 sports, 64 teams at CHS. We have 508 registered winter athletes right now. 36% of our school population is registered for athletics. At times you'd like to, we always want those numbers to be real high, but you gotta remember we also have cut sports because it's just not enough, teams and space for everybody. The winter and the spring are rather large times because we have track programs. Our track programs, I have to give, major credit to our coaches who, I think for the most part, are all teachers in our building, but have grown the program tremendously. We have almost 200 kids in our track program right now, which is outstanding. We also have two people behind us. Matt Bartos is our football play-by-play announcer during the games. Alex is our JVB girls soccer coach. And Linda has a daughter on the swim and dive team. So everyone has time in athletics as well. A pretty cool thing, like they do these things called the Dalton rankings, and in the 80s, Chelmsford was like a powerhouse in that. And that takes all of your wins and losses throughout the year and stacks you up against every school in the entire state. And we used to win it a few times in the 80s, and we're kind of away from that for a long time. But over the past few years, we're ranked number 3 and ranked number 9 in the state, which is pretty impressive because we play in the toughest league in the state, arguably. And some of the other teams that are in that top 10 were teams in our league, which is normally not the case. But we have a very high-performing athletic program. We have great kids, we have great coaches, and we have a community that really supports our athletics. Since the winter of 22 and 23, 82% of our teams have qualified for the state tournament. That's a really great feat, especially now. They switched over to a statewide tournament format about 3 years ago. It's more difficult to make the tournament now. And that they've just bunched instead of being, in your different sections. Now they take every team that was in your division before, and it's all your divisions are divided by school population. And it's more difficult to get in. There's a power ranking system, and to have 82% of our teams is pretty impressive since last winter. Last spring, we had all of our teams qualify except one that missed by 0.1 percentage point of getting in. Like the smallest of possible margins you could have is what we missed. So it was a great year last year, and that carried over to this year as well. Something different over the past couple of years, I know Chelmsford Public Schools has instituted ARCS education training. We have done it for our coaches for the past, I believe we piloted it for ARCS Ed about 2.5 years ago. We started, I thought, in our winter season or our spring season. Since then, we have now, through the Merrimack Valley Conference, which we're in, myself and other athletic directors have met with them, have met with superintendents and principals, and now every athlete that participates in the Merrimack Valley Conference goes through ARCS Education student-athlete training. In that athlete training, they talk about many things, state mandates. For coaches, it has, your certificate uploads, hiring trainings, all those things, MIA rules for athletes, hazing training, which is something that's just so important, stuff about hazing, stuff about bullying, stuff about chemical health and making the right choices, MIA-related rules, and then just positive behaviors, both, talk about the positive and negative behaviors that are displayed at athletic events, and the positive behaviors that they want displayed by our athletes. It's pretty great to have every single person in our league and all of our players go through these things. I'm just a believer that every little thing counts. Like any way we can get people, any information we can give to them that's going to help them better themselves and better our programs, I think we should do it. And it's been a pretty great thing that we had. That started in the fall. And as our kids we finalized making our teams, before they step out for their first game, every kid will have that completed at our school, but also every school. And I just added that it was piloted in the fall of 23. That is for our for this year, for our kids. Over the course of the past year, one of the big things that the MIA has stepped in is DEI and leadership training. Last year, myself, Principal Murray, went to the Hayton Sport Conference that was at the TD Garden. Governor Healy was, she founded that, but it was also them, the MIA, DESE, and then members of all of our professional sports teams. And they all got up, spoke, went over certain examples, went over the things to talk about. And really the message was that sports should really bring us together, not take us apart, and that the ultimate thing in sports is that we do work together towards positive goals, and that we have the power to make a lot of change. And that when negative things do happen, that we combat them and we don't just, sit back and let them happen. There were a few events that happened throughout the state last year. There's events that happen everywhere all the time. I think that this was great because I'm a firm believer too, being proactive instead of reactive. I know we're forced to be reactive in a lot of situations, but this is something that gave us all, some things to look about, some ways to go about discussing this with students, some topics to bring up, and then resources for when we do have these issues and how we go about if we have this issue of what to do. And they went through a scenario where 2 schools had an issue. They contacted the liaison at the MIA. They worked through the issue. They all get together. And it was like a whole process. But it was pretty cool to see that stuff's just not going to be ignored and say, hey, they're going to handle it. They'll just do it. And then you don't know. Now there's a whole set of resources, a whole staff behind a whole process for how to handle certain issues. We had an NBC, we started last year, the NBC Leadership Summit. That was at the Songus Arena, which was great. We all brought about 10 kids. We selected our kids by just asking coaches over like various schools, and we had various ages. We did not bring any seniors last year because it was at the end of the year. And the thought was that we'd want kids that would kind of pass this on year to year. So we had a mix of our kids. Our kids are there in the bottom left right there. It was really cool. We had 3 speakers. One was Caleb Joseph, was a Division I basketball player who went through some mental health issues and was was a great resource to talk about kids, to let them know like, hey, just because what you think you're supposed to be, if you're an athlete, is you can't show any emotion, you can't do any of that stuff. That there's times where you're not okay, and when you're not okay, there's people that you need to talk to and let people know. And it was great in the way that he sat up there and talked, and then sat back and listened. The kids felt so comfortable with him that they were going over, scenarios that they have, like things that are difficult, and then how they deal with it and how they support each other. That was great. We had Mike Gorman from the, I believe it's called the Movement Group. I forget the name off the top of my head. But he is out of Bethune, and he does this amazing program where he helps out the homeless in Lawrence and has been doing it for years. And he provides meals for them. Does like a dinner for them every week, no matter what, rain or shine, has always done it. He was a former athlete from Bethune High School, and he had just an outstanding, talk about how all the different people that he has met in his life, and one of his favorite things that he did was in high school through a community service project, and that he was able to give back and how it made him feel, but also how it benefited the community, and also how he saw that there was, we all have this perception of who has these issues and who is out on the street, but it's really, it can be anybody. It's the kids we went to school with, it's the people that were in our family, it's everything, and how do we help them and how do we make a difference? And Mike was just outstanding in his talk and talking about ways that we can help, and that's stuff that we've talked about with our groups of doing something coming forward in the spring. And then the MIA was the last one. They had another room where they had a speaker talk about DEI, and just did it in such a way where he really had the students lead the conversation, asked them questions, got them working together, and his whole point was, if we can work together on the courts and in the fields and everywhere else, then how come we can't sit and talk about things that maybe are even less difficult, or under less scrutiny? And it was really good. The positive I got is I got so many compliments on the way out from a lot of our students. About a lot of our students from the speakers. Our kids sat in the front row, they shook hands, they looked people in the eye, they participated. The group of kids we brought were an outstanding representation at Chelmsford High School, and they took a lot of that stuff. When we left on the way back, we drove the minibus in there and just talking to the kids about things they learned and things they did, and they were just great of ideas and things that they want to do. So those are things that we're going to look forward to working with our kids. We have, last night it says team community service. All of our teams are required to do community service throughout the year. A lot of it tends to happen almost in that summertime where we're helping things get ready or do stuff, because that's really when the downtime is. Sports are not necessarily high school sports, but individual sports are all year round now. So there's kids, they don't really have off seasons. A kid that plays, field hockey or whatever, he can play field hockey now in the winter for a club team and in the spring and in the summer. But we have kids that have done so much, whether they're at the elementary school, their events that they have, or helping put buildings together, or helping pick up trash, or helping at the senior center. And I know our football program was at the veteran ceremony. Our kids are out there doing a lot of good things. Our coaches are leading them and doing that. We want our kids, our whole goal, wins and losses are great, but really that's not what it's about. Whereas with us, I think that winning is kind of a byproduct of doing the right thing, even when it's not right for you. And we want to create, well-rounded young adults whose positive contributions help improve our school and our community. That's the goal always, and we won't compromise on that. Last thing is just some fall highlights. Our golf team was NBC champions again, so back-to-back years. Jacob Carlson was the player of the year. He's only a sophomore, which is an impressive feat. That doesn't happen very often. Just a really solid player, obviously an excellent kid. Our girls swim and dive team was the MIA Division II runner-up in the swim and dive state meet. We had the diver of the year, and I forgot to put her name, but Lily Dunlay. Our MVC girls cross country, Kate Leonard was the MVC runner of the year. So a pretty great fall individually. We had 3 athletes of the year, in the 10 sports offered. Normally lucky if you get one. That's the best of the best. So that was pretty great achievements for these people right here. Our golf, girls soccer, boys cross country, girls cross country, swim, girls volleyball, they all qualified for the state tournament this year. Our unified basketball team, which is one of the best programs where we have some of our special ed students mixed with some of our players from our teams and other ways, and our coaches lead that. They play a regular season that is just a blast. It's probably the highlight of the athletic year of year. The kids go and have so much fun. And they end that year with a unified basketball jamboree at Lowell High School in that beautiful gym that they have over there. And it really is it's a great celebration. Our kids just absolutely love it. The helpers and the coaches get so into it. They're all really just such great people. You leave there feeling like $1 million every single time. I mean, the kids are awesome. And then the last thing was kind of our highlight of the fall. Our Thanksgiving Day game this year, we got to play at Fenway Park. It was great. I mean, our football kids, if you don't know the story, have had a very tough, 2 years. I mean, they lost a teammate, watched a teammate get sick with them, and he never missed a day and still showed up to everything, and went through that with them at the beginning of this year. He passed away last June. And this, past fall, we had our, best player, our quarterback, got a devastating injury, almost lost his life, and he was in the hospital. He was lost for the season. Luckily, he was able to come back. And for these kids who just, we had a lot of kids that, through injuries and whatever, we really played kind of our kids that normally wouldn't play. Younger kids that got an opportunity way too fast. They got better every single week. And then having this at the end, like this highlight to go play at Fenway Park. Fenway Park made us feel like our kids, our coaches, our TV production crew, our cheerleaders, our band, feel like professionals. I mean, they let us in Yawkey Way. They let us in that way. Private parking to get in there. They let us into the dugout. At the dugout, we walked out onto the field. We were able to go behind the Green Monster and sign that. Got a whole run of the place. And it was a great celebration of Chelmsford Athletics. The alumni that came in, our students that came in, our staff, and Alex that came and took the kids in on a bus and just worked with our kids. It was a really great ending. It was a tough game. The kids battled, but really just kind of being there and the way that whole setup was special. Our kids got to have a Super Bowl this year without being in the actual Super Bowl. So it was very fitting. It was a great ending. I was really proud of our kids, and now we're right into the winter. So all of our games and everything kind of start. Swim is at Haverhill today. And then, we kind of get into everything at the beginning of next week, and excited to see what our winter teams can do. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't know if I have a question, but I kind of have a comment. I met with you before. I'm also on the town DEI committee, and the DEI work is really important to me, and I know this district has done a great job providing professional development for everyone. But I'm really eager to hear more about what the kids who went to that leadership summit end up doing. You said they had some good ideas, so at some point I'd love to hear back from you and hear how the students are now bringing that work to other students. It's something I'm really interested in hearing more about.
Yeah, and I can tell you real quick, I know that we have students, and I think the big thing we came out of that with is we have students that want to lead that conversation and bring some speakers. They wanted to bring one of the speakers that we had there because they felt he related really good with kids and would get the kids to now actually be active in the conversation instead of just being listeners. But I know our kids also wanted to lead that, which I thought was great. I think kids need to see other kids and they need to hear other kids. And to see them lead in conversations that that can be difficult, was something that they talked about. And they just talked about how they learned just so much. And it was great to see even just people from other districts, right? Because it's different here than it is in Billerica, than it is in Lowell, than it is in Haverhill. To hear how just what they go through on a daily basis, and even situations they've been in and how they've dealt with them, or problems they may have and solutions that they have, I think was really great for our kids. And our kids really showed it was great to watch them all just work together. And in the DEI, the speaker put them in challenging situations and asked them challenging questions. And it was great to see them kind of sit back, and then once one person talked, then they all just kind of jumped in. So it was great that way.
Well, athletics are such an important part of the culture of a school and a whole town. So I think to have your athletes who are the leaders bring this work in and do it with the other kids can really have a really big impact on the school and how everybody functions. So like I said, I'm glad to hear that, and I'd love to hear in the future more about that.
Sure. And along those lines, and going on with what Santos asked earlier, we have a bunch of affinity groups in our building: the Black Student Union, ASO, the Asian Student Union, SASA, et cetera. And those groups, they came, they presented at our faculty meeting, talking about DEI and things and how it affects them. This past fall, working with Dawn Albasad, one of our English teachers, she got all the groups together, and they worked on doing a professional development day. They went to the elementary buildings to talk about life and experiences from their eyes and what they see in school. And the feedback from the staff there is that they loved that event. They loved what our kids had to say, and it was really it really resonated. And so with that, last week, Shannon Bischoff, the Director of Guidance and Social Emotional Learning, she and I met with one of the affinity groups, one of the advisors. They want to start talking about microaggressions and DEI things, but go to different plus blocks and talk about from their lens. And so right now we're meeting next week, and then again after the break, building out what their presentation is going to look like. And I think that's so important. And the last thing, our kids from the affinity groups, they want to go down and be almost like mentors and partners to our elementary. So I think this is just a great way of bringing everyone involved. So, and I think what I really like about Dan is that, I know we said it earlier, and I said it, it's not just about the wins and losses, it's about your character, integrity, it's about community and how we're growing, not just growing as skills within our own sport, but growing as a person. And that's what Dan has been showing here for the years that he's taken over, and really been fortunate about that. So thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Sorry, yes?
This has been a wonderful presentation, but I noticed at the beginning that it's not in tonight's agenda packet. Is there a way it can be put in there? Oh, it is already. Okay, because not only for me, but for the public who may want to look at it again. It certainly helps me during the minutes of the meeting if it is.
It's in there.
Thank you all.
Yeah, just going down a totally different pathway. How's transportation going now? I know this has been a huge issue coming out of COVID. Even last year, I know there was a tough day in buses and coaches driving and parents driving and kids. How's it coming around?
I'm driving a lot, but to be honest with you, transportation, I feel like it is getting better. It's not perfect. I think one of the tough things is we can get a call at 12 o'clock and says, hey, we can't get you a bus until 6, and the game starts at 4 o'clock. So there's been some challenges, and I think what people don't understand is when you don't have transportation, then those, it affects your programs in like sub-varsity sports, right? We have a town that's absolutely exploded in participation of youth sports, right? And they have times where they need to get on fields, and then we need to get our programs on fields. But if they can't send the team here until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, then what do you do? We've been able to, and I think my staff has been great. When we have to go other places, we make sure we get our kids there on time, whether we're putting them in a minibus, whether we shuttle people back and forth and then work with, some other bus companies at times. There's things that we have to do. I think transportation in general has affected athletics a lot, probably more so than any other group, and has added chaos to the day because once 12 o'clock hits and that comes in, you got to figure out how you're going to get someone to, one day we did a drop JV boys football off at Lexington, came back to take Alex, your soccer team to Westford, then got back there and saw that they called us on the way that a bus had canceled our varsity team, girls soccer team, to Haverhill. So when we get in there and we pull the bus in, all the kids are standing applauding, like, hey, the bus is here. I'm like, oh my God. But we've been able to make it work. It's challenging, but I will say, when you were driving the bus, it's like the best part of the day. You get to talk to the kids. Your phone's not ringing. You don't have to be at a computer. You can't pick up your phone, which is great. But it's, yeah, transportation is challenging, but I feel, knock on plastic, that it's getting better.
One of the things that I want to mention was I did see some feedback on Facebook and whatnot about the community service that your students were doing, and it seemed very, very positively received. I saw pictures of the Veterans Benefit, and I believe there were some people that got their yards raked by the football team that really were just incredibly appreciative of the hard work that the young man came out and performed, as well as their behavior. So congratulations on that. And then, certainly one of the great resources that we have in our schools is our staff, but another great resource that we don't talk enough about is our parents. And you have an excellent booster organization that is parent-led. And you also have a lot of support from other aspects of the school program and parents. And we have one of the best bands, marching bands in the MVC, if not the state, okay? Our color guard, our cheerleaders, all of these people really make for a really enjoyable experience when you go to these athletic events. And they all contribute, to the culture of the athletics. And so, thank you to the parents and all those other people who sometimes, don't get recognized. I think that it was really terrific that they put the band up on the scoreboard at Fenway and recognized those kids. I thought that was really a special moment for them, and I'm really glad they did that. Because as I said, they're quite incredible, and I think that they, in addition to Dr. Lang's lights on the poles, bring a lot to the football game, when you go there, so.
Yeah, we get a lot, whenever we go, people want to come and play these games here, not just in football games, but other sports. You play a field hockey game and the lights go off, the kids go crazy.
Right.
Another, just real quick, just an unsung hero in a group of people. And for us in general, like, Tom Peterson and the student TV crew is unbelievable. I mean, them at Fenway was unreal, but an awesome thing that they did, Billerica doesn't really have like a student-led TV group. So Tom, just reached out to us like, hey, we did all the senior graphics for Chelmsford, but I don't know if we have anything from Billerica. And we were doing the feed, they were just using our feed. He's like, hey, do you think it'd be okay if we went over to Billerica? And I'm very close with John, who's over there. He's like, wow, he would do that? That's so nice. They just went over there, did that. The kids from Billerica thought that was a great thing. It looked seamless on that. And that's just Tom just doing that to, but all those kids do so much. And, you watch our broadcasts of all of our sports, and they're unbelievable. And we get, we just get, everywhere I go, everyone's like, wow, that TV crew, that does such a great job. And the kids are awesome. I mean, they are really just like us. I mean, we recognize them on senior night and do all that stuff there too. They really add to it.
And our announcers, of course, in the booth at the football. But no, I do think the athletic program was terrific. But, I also feel like it would be remiss if we didn't thank the parents for all of their hard work and, getting kids to practices and games and things like that.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Because, it really is a big commitment on a family's part to have kids participate in sports or theater or anything. So thank you to the parents.
Just one comment about bringing it all together in terms of leadership. I truly appreciate that. I think it's amazing because it just doesn't separate athletes from others in the school who also have themselves to fulfill if they're not athletically minded. So I think that that's a wonderful thing to be able to bring people together that way. And I agree 100% about TV. I know what they have been able to do to make sure that our sports are seen by many people, not just the people who attend those events. And finally, I'd like to just say our students are the best.
The best.
Because it doesn't matter what the activity is. It's incredible that we have a staff, teachers, administrators, people who care and bring them all together. But it's our students in the end who are up there on that stage, who are on the field playing that band, who are doing the athletics. So congratulations to them all.
And we're here now.
Yes.
Right.
You're the best right here. Right? Yes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve and
And I
Alex,
just-
Matt,
I
and
had
Linda.
I'm sorry, John, I
I had my
apologize.
hand up. Just before you guys go, I just had my hand up. I was really sad for a minute. You
I'm
guys-
sorry, John, I thought you were scratching your head.
Well, I probably, just real quick, I actually want to give a special shout out to Alex, who's been running the veterans program over at the high school where we go out and get the chance to speak. She's been coordinating all that with all the veterans and the kids that might join the military or might not. But we try to give them sound, practical advice, not recruiter advice, which is a different thing. And for Mr. Murray, I think I've mentioned this, but there's a Moses coming next year, so, yeah. It's gonna make the meetings really awkward, but.
I'm glad you said that. That veterans group, there were 2 students who just committed last week, and they were so excited, and they said they got so much from that panel, and they got them even more jazzed up, so thanks for taking the time to do that.
That's great, thank you.
Yay.
You
Thank
do a
you very
lot.
much.
You have a lot on your plate. You should take a day. Can you give her a day off?
As that's on the 7th, if you want to mention it, go there.
ASVAB on the 7th. Excellent. Study. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you very
guys.
much.
Thanks, guys.
Very much appreciate it. Just give me a second. Night, have a good night.
Good night. Someone's phone?
Second item on the agenda this evening, Dr. Hirsch is going to share with you our school improvement plans for the year that we put together each year that tie out to the overarching strategic plan. So I will let Linda walk you through that.
Sure, so these are the one-year school improvement plans. They are a continuous improvement that happens in the schools, and they are definitely connected to the strategic plan that we have put together. The format is you'll see like the goals, then you'll see the initiatives, and then the action steps that go along with all of them. So there's a lot of common themes in these. As you start to read them, you'll start to see a lot of the goals are the same because the schools work connected to each other. They work collectively in order to make sure that these goals are something that if a student were to go to one school, you'd start to see the same type of goals happening in another school. So there's a little bit of that seamlessness there. So CHS is the one that has more goals than the other schools, only because they have an additional facilities goal in there, just because of the size of the campus itself. There's a lot of moving parts, as you saw tonight. You heard many of the different things that they've been working on with the goals. I'm just giving you the overarching piece. I'm not going to be reading these to you one by one, but you'll always see the academic goal. The high school one is connected to MCAS percentile, so because we do not have any of those interim goals that we could collectively look at, like an iReady type look. Each of the departments have their own syllabi and their own assessments that happen within those departments. And then they have their SEL goal, which is the well-being and safe environment, as well as that facilities goal that goes along with it. And then for the middle schools and the elementary schools, you're going to see the work that's being done around the new Reveal math program at K through 5, and then 6, 7, 8 also has Big Ideas, which is their math program with the focus on what is happening with the math and the PD that goes along with it. As well as at the middle school, you'll see that there's a goal around the work that was done about scheduling and the next steps that will be happening with the scheduling. And that elementary has a similar format with the Reveal math. And both middle school and elementary school has goals around their SEL, their tier 2 interventions. Some of them are starting to work towards tier 3 type interventions for SEL. And the work around Panorama to help us look at both the academic piece as well as the SEL surveys. So there's a lot of moving parts. A lot of the work has already been started, if not completed. And the schools will continue with that and adjust as they need to.
So I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about, who develops the school improvement plan? What does that committee or group, consist of in terms of, parents, staff, at-large community members, and how often do they meet? And then the school improvement plan is year to year.
So again, it's a one-year goal. They have school improvement committees at each of the schools. It is, just like Donna said, it is made up of faculty, the administration, parents, and a community member at large at each one of the schools. They set up a schedule to meet at least 3 to 4 times during the school year. They have to work towards understanding like what this goal would look like. They're like a guiding committee, and they help look at the strategic plan that's happening, look at the data that each of the schools have, and then in order to help them come up with these academic SEL goals and/or facility goals that might be connected to their schools, they help guide the practice and what that work will look like. So there's teachers on there, there's administrators, your parents, the community member at large, and they just try to work through what it would look like. And then if you think of it almost like a flow chart, and with who's going to be responsible for that work, the time frame when those deliverables are due, that's what that committee oversees throughout the school year.
How do parents become involved in that if they're interested?
They would hear from their school principal. They would be looking for members to be part of the school improvement plan committee.
Thank you.
And how is it all evaluated at the end? Like who and how is it?
It's through
Success or failure
through
of
the
it.
committee, through obviously the principals of the schools. They'll give a status update, so they do a mid-year and then they do an end of the year. They need to see if they're on track. So if you have a deliverable that's due in January, did you make that deliverable or did you need to make an adjustment? So it is a little bit of a fluid document, although we have the dates and the timeframes on here. If something is not moving forward, they would have to make an adjustment. And they would indicate that in their status update.
Are these online?
They will be online after tonight, after you've had a chance to look at them, and they'll be at each school, on each
On each
school.
school site?
Susan?
Do the school improvement committees from each school, like, meet with each other? Because the elementary schools' plans are very similar.
They
almost
are, they
identical.
do, but what we have to, what the principal's responsible for after the group meets is to actually put the wording together.
Okay.
So it's not, this is not a working document that everybody would be adding to. It's just talking about the goals and the steps that will get them to that goal, and then the wording gets together, and then the schools work together. So those elementary school principals all work very close together in order to make sure that there's some type of consistency within the schools.
Is this committee listed anywhere, who the members of the committee are during a particular year?
I don't know if we have them listed. I think that's at the school level. Like, it's not, if you're asking if it's on the website, I don't believe it's on the website.
I remember when my children were at Center School, I was part of this group. And the principal at that time sent out a notice to everybody that he was looking for a couple of parents to participate. Is there like a standard process at each school for how the principals reach out, or?
I don't know if they're sending individual emails out, like just to their community, or they're putting it through their newsletters, but they do reach out to the community as a whole at the school to find out who would like to be part of it.
Okay.
On the front page of each plan, can we have the members listed? You know how we have like middle,
We could try. It's
Okay.
just a matter of what the format would look like.
Okay.
Try to keep things like streamlined so parents can just find it quickly.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Great, thank you very much, and thank you to all of the groups that met and put these plans together.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Third item this evening is, we mentioned, actually, we talked about it a little bit at the last school committee meeting. Usually at one of the two December meetings, I present the October 1 numbers. These are the enrollment figures that have to get submitted to DESE based on who is actually in our school system on October 1st. And then these numbers are what the state uses to help with our Chapter 70 calculation for the following school year. So we did our submission on October 1st. It has to go through this whole validation process. It was validated and came back to us. So that's what we have before you tonight. And what I typically do behind the cover memo is provide the first kind of graphic, I guess, that has the blue lines on it. And this is just taking all the different individual sheets that the DESE has certified and kind of put it in one document that's a little bit easier to read. But it just goes right across the top from grade pre-K up through 12, totaling 5,130 students in the district. I then kind of take the numbers at each individual school and just divide it by the number of sections that we're running in the schools, just to get you an average class size in each of those. At the elementary levels, it holds pretty true because the kids don't move. They're in a homeroom all day and they stay with the same teacher all day. In the middle and the high school level, obviously, we have more courses and it's course-driven. So what I did do this year, in addition to providing that kind of global pick, which we've already looked at, We have the NESDEC report. Every year, we submit the report to them. They go through, they refine their projections. And I have to say, they've actually been pretty much on target the last couple of years. We've only been off by a handful of students, so that's some good work we do with them. That helps us along the way. I also provided you with enrollment reports directly from X2, which is our student database system. So you have a district enrollment report there as well. You will notice on that district enrollment report, the number of students comes up to 5211 because this actually includes our students that are out of district. The first report only looks at students who are actually in the school system attending, like our pre-K CHIPS program, all the way up to the high school. But there's a line on the district enrollment report showing an additional 65 kids, and these are our kids who are in out-of-district placements. So that's why the number changes a little bit. But I then did go actually school by school and just print right out of the computer for you the homerooms at the elementary level, so you could actually see the number of enrollments. So like I happen to just be looking at BIAM because B always comes up first. But you have homeroom, probably low of 19 up to, there's one class over there that has 24, but most of your class sizes are 19, 20, 21 in that particular school, and that holds true for the elementary schools across the board. We've talked about this previously when we talked enrollment, but BIAM actually has 5 sections of everything at this point. So they have 5 classrooms of K right up, and the school is really built to be a 4-strand school. So that's something that we work through. Center School, again, all your homerooms are listed there. And those range from a low of 18 up to a high of, they have a class of 24, but really most of them are, 20s, 21s in that particular building. Harrington as well. Harrington does have a section of 5 in that particular school. And then South Row has one grade level also that has 5 sections. But you're going to see, low 20s for all of your elementary enrollments, which I think are excellent. When you come up to 5th and 6th grade, we've got now the 2 teams together from both buildings. They're running, 24, 25, 26 in each of the classrooms. At 7th and 8th grade, at the middle school, those numbers, when you get into the individual sections, are again a little bit better. Actually, you're seeing some mostly high teens, low 20s in that particular building. We had realigned the schedule over there so that we're offering more classes. The teachers this year are teaching 5 classes instead of 6, which really cut down on the enrollments themselves. What I don't typically provide for you, but I did put in this report as well, so after you have the homeroom summaries to just give you a sense of the student enrollments, I actually just printed a different report out of the system for you that had every single class section that we're running to show you, what the section was, who the teacher was, and what the enrollments are. And again, you're going to see basically those mid-20s in the 5th and 6th grade level for all of our different core instructions. Sometimes the specialist classes do have a few more. You're seeing high teens, low 20s in 7th and 8th grade. And then at the high school, again, you're seeing right around 20, low 20s. You do have some random sections that are in the mid-20s, but, 20, 21, 22s are most of your classes at the high school. And when you look at the high school run, that's like 600 and something sections. So you are obviously going to have a few classes that have a couple of high numbers, but it's like 1 or 2% of the total classes that are offered at the high school. I really do think the high school numbers are very well as well. Sometimes you just can't avoid that, even if you're offering the same class and multiple sections of it, just the way the kids' schedule falls for them to be able to take a different class that they want at a particular level. Sometimes you do see a little bit of disparity in some of the classes. So you'll have an English class, several sections of English 9. One might have, 26 in it, and another's going to have 20 in it. It's just the way that the classes fall. You really can't even them all out. But I wanted to provide that to you as well, because we talked about individual class enrollments. So you have those in your report too.
I appreciate that. It's kind of weird, but in the Chelmsford, the high school, one stands out with 28 on the first page. D114.
Hang on a
I
second.
don't know why, but nobody else comes close to that. And
That's a
yeah, the
good thing.
numbers are pretty low.
That's a good thing, there's only one class of 28.
Yeah, only 128.
That's great.
It is, but everybody else is pretty low.
Yeah, we actually have,
Which is great.
I'm looking at some of these classes at the high school in the performing arts are in the single digits.
Yes,
Yeah, every once in a while, you see a section that there's one student, like music class.
Yeah,
What would that mean?
So there are a couple of reasons that that can happen. There's typically not a class with just one student in it, but if you look at that teacher, who's probably listed on a couple different lines, sometimes when you get to higher levels like junior or senior level, there is different levels of the course, like you might have, say, an AP level and a honors level or a college level. So you might only have a handful of students that want a particular course and they want at different levels. So if you look at when it's offered, they're offered at the same time. So the teacher basically has a couple of students who are at the honors level, a couple of students who are, say, at the AP level, and they're differentiating their instruction and the assignments that they're giving the students so that we can actually offer the class. There's not one student in the class. There may be, if there is an individual student listed just in a random class that doesn't align like that, sometimes you do have like a particular, like a directed study that a teacher might be working with a student on. But there wouldn't be like a single student in a class. But overall, I have to say, honestly, the high school numbers, I think, are very good, and really, elementary, middle, and high school right across the board.
When you look at the high school, another comment, and it's consistent every year, is again, the language classes tend to have a higher number in them, and some of the arts.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking, where is our, you're going to Capitol on Thursday, right? Where is our art studio on that?
It's on our top 5.
Top 5, because I was looking at the numbers here, and they're pretty solid. 24, 25, 26, so it shows a real interest,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those classes are elective-based as well, and your elective-based classes are gonna run a little bit higher than your core classes. But yeah, you're seeing 24s, 25s in a lot of those sections.
I think what stands out to me the most, reading the whole thing through quickly, is, this year we're up 74 students, which is, okay, that's, if you look at the projections, in 5 years, they expect us to be up by 400 students. And in 10 years, by 700 students, so, when you start looking at those numbers, you can see why we're trying to do some things to even our numbers out a little bit and provide more space to our students, whether it be a building or whatever. But those are pretty shocking when you look at those numbers, that those projections, 700 students in 10 years. That's a lot of students to fit in.
And we're actually a little bit ahead of the projections in terms of actual numbers. So, yeah,
But that's what struck me, in the whole report.
absolutely.
But NESDEC is actually tracking pretty well.
Yeah.
Which is helpful for us each year.
I do think it's important also to mention, too, that those projections are not only as a result of some of the development that we'll see coming, online, but also we're just seeing, a turnover in the housing inventory where we have, younger people moving in with small children who will be coming into the school soon. So I think it's a combination of things.
That are happening. Yeah, the other thing that it does point out, and I'm very happy to see this, is in the middle schools. You are getting classes, the numbers are lower in those classes, and I think overall, that's gonna help performance for students. They get more individualized attention.
What's nice too, if you look at like last year's numbers, McCarthy versus Parker, this year's, there was like 120 difference, and now they're almost even.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was always an equity thing.
Yeah, you've got
between two schools.
about 800 kids in both.
Yeah,
buildings
exactly.
At this
So
point.
that was-
And it's much easier for the kids coming up from, remember there were those two little pockets
Yeah.
from Byam and Harrington? Now we don't have that anymore.
Right.
The other positive that's happened is, we do still have a lot of families that move within the community throughout the course of the year, and you're not having to change schools based on geography. So once you hit the middle school, where we're all 5, 6 in one building and all 7, 8 in another building, even if you move from another side of town, you're staying in that same group, which is really, I think, helpful. So that's been significant. But no, I'm very impressed with the, and I'm hoping this is really going to pay off, 7th and 8th grade numbers for like your core ELA, science, math, and social studies at McCarthy, significantly lower than they've ever been because of the schedule reconfiguration. But a lot of mid and high teens in those classes. So I think hopefully that really is going to pay off.
That's good.
Do anybody have any other questions or comments on this report? All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Last item for me tonight is just a little reminder. Next Monday, December 11th, here at 6 o'clock, we have the tri-board meeting. So that's when we meet annually, the school committee, the select board, and the FinCom for the town get together just to talk about budget, how we closed last year, budget outlook for next year as we begin the budget process. So it's in this room next Monday, December 11th at 6.
I believe there's also another meeting that will be happening at the same, 6 o'clock, I think it's still the same thing, for Neshoba Valley, to appoint a new school committee member and an alternate, I believe.
Is that at 6 or is it right before that?
It said 6 on the
It's
agenda.
part of the
Oh, did
agenda,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it just part of the
Yeah.
same?
It's just part of the
meeting?
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. I do know that you need to elect a representative for that. I didn't know if they were going to do it as a separate meeting before, but maybe it'll just start at 6.
Yeah, the agenda didn't indicate a different time.
Okay. Oh, then if it's on the same agenda, it's the same meeting. So it'll just be at 6.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, does anybody have any liaison reports? I think a lot of PTOs and groups take December off.
The only one I had is the Wellness Committee. Once again, there is a meeting, and this year is the Wellness Fair, which is now, as they stated, on March 6th. I think you said it again at the beginning of the meeting, Dr. Hirsch?
Yes.
It's on March 6th,
March 6th is the wellness.
Wellness Fair.
That's when the wellness fair is happening.
Right.
That's the switch of the PD
Yes.
days, now the half days on the fair.
Yes.
Not to be
Yeah,
confused.
and if there's anybody out there that's listening to us and is interested in participating in the Wellness Fair, just send me an email. And if you want to have a table at the fair and you're a member, a part of our town, or have students in the schools and so on, and you want to be there, just let us know.
Thank you.
And I had, Capital met last Thursday, and we had presentations by various departments. Dr. Lang's represented the school department very well. And so we meet again this Thursday to decide which project will move forward to a town meeting. And then also tomorrow night, the Alumni Association meets.
Okay, and I have Harrington, they had their winter store on Saturday. And one thing I just really wanted to say that was excellent was they had about 30 high school students there doing community service to work at it, to wrap gifts and just work at the different tables. So that was really nice to see that many high school students there, just helping to make sure the event was successful.
And then Parker, the next day, had their event, which was bringing different people
It was
together.
vendors.
Vendors that you can go shop for the holiday. And they, again, had a very high number
They
of
did,
high
yes.
schoolers
I was there and I saw
who
that.
participated. So that was really, really nice.
All right, anybody else? We have no public comments?
We don't?
Okay, then, just real quickly, does anybody have any, other than those we talked about at the last meeting, any more additional items that we would like to see on upcoming agendas? Okay, so then with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0 in favor. Thank you very much, everyone.